Hi, my name is Shane. Thanks for hanging out today. I have for Soundcheck and review a Barton Vintage Kapur drum set. Check it out. Sizes on the drums are 13 by 8 inch rack tom, 16 by 14 inch floor tom, and a 22 by 14 inch bass drum. There is a matching snare that goes with this kit. However, I couldn't quite afford it on my first pass. I'm going to try to pick that up later. So the snare I'm using today is a Yamaha Kapur Nouveau, and that's 14 by 5.5. And the copper matches really well with this awesome Barton Tigerwood wrap. There's an interesting story on how I ended up buying this drum set, but if you don't care and you just want to hear the drums, go ahead and fast forward to this time, and that's where the playing starts. In my nearly 30 years of playing, I have almost always had modern drum sets. A lot of them have been Yamaha, but I've had Tama, Gretsch, and Pearl as well. But I kind of fell in love with that Dave Weckl Yamaha sound really early on. Kind of a modern tom sound. They're punchy with a quick kind of bending decay. So I like that sound most of my career, and I never really was exposed to this vintage tom sound. I went ahead and checked out all Yamaha's new offerings, and they had this club custom kit, which I really liked. It's got a 60s, 70s feel to it. The toms are round with a quick decay, but still plenty of tone. And they are made out of Kapur wood, and they're also beautiful. They have like a swirl paint job. Unfortunately, new they were $2,500 to $3,000, and still today used 10 or so years after they were released, they're still like $1,500. I just never found one used that was the right sizes when I actually had money, so I kind of gave up on trying to get one. A couple years ago, a friend of my band gave us a 70s Slingerland kit. It was in really horrible shape. I put some money into it and refurbished it. There's a video on that if you want to check it out. And I realized that that sound wasn't just the Yamaha Club Custom Kapur sound, but any drums from that era. Or most drums from that era have that tom sound that was so different from the modern Yamaha sound that I really liked. So I started looking at some of the other vintage kits that are available used. It's mostly Ludwig and Slingerland, and I just could never find anything that I really liked. There's some wacky finishes during that era, but a lot of them are really nice. I just couldn't find one that had the right sizes that was in great shape. A lot of times the shells will be in good shape, or just need a little bit of work, but the hardware will be pitting and rusted, and you've got to replace parts of it. And you've got to work with tom mounting systems that are very out of date and don't really hold up. So there's just a lot of work to do when you buy a vintage kit. I realized that I didn't really want a vintage kit, I just kind of wanted a vintage sound. So I looked around, there were a bunch of companies going after that sound nowadays, and Barton is actually one of them. So I had read an interview with Todd, the owner of Barton, on the Chicago Music Exchange website. I liked everything he had to say. He seemed like a great guy, and his whole philosophy was great drums that don't break the bank, that you're going to want to keep for a lifetime. And this set definitely qualifies. When I read that interview, I wasn't actually in the market right then to buy any drums, but I would remember that later. I had been looking at some Ludwig standards in the bronze strata, which is a really cool wrap. Those Ludwigs are actually way more affordable, than a lot of their high-priced stuff, but I never really found any in great shape. They weren't top of the line when they were new, so a lot of them didn't really get taken care of, but that look, that sound, I was really interested in. I just couldn't find anything that fit me. In the process of looking for those, I was on the Nelson Drum Shop website, and I ran across this gorgeous Barton Kapur kit. So two things popped in my head. Kapur, which was what I had been looking for in the Club Customs, and also that Barton interview where I really liked everything he had to say, about their company and the drums. So I thought about it, very briefly. I had some money, so I went ahead and bought the kit, and a week later, it was here. After I bought the kit, I was pleased to find out that this was actually Todd from Barton's personal drum set. He really liked the Kapur sound, and the one he chose to play himself was this actual set. So after I got it, I emailed him, and I had a little back and forth. And he told me that he likes the Kapur sound, the best out of everything they make. There's just not a giant market for Kapur because people aren't as familiar with it. But he really loves the Kapur sound. It's gorgeous wood. The hoops actually are the natural Kapur with an inlay. The inside of the drums look really pretty. I'll try to show that to you. But this is just a gorgeous wood. It's a little bit darker in tone, but it looks great. When I got the kit and inspected it, I immediately was impressed with the craftsmanship. They have the center lugs. A lot of people call them the club date lugs because those were on the Ludwig club dates that were popular. That means there's half as many holes in every single shell and half as much hardware, so the shell can really resonate quite a lot more. The hoops, everything about it is first quality made, and they are made in China. Barton is not ashamed, nor do they hide that fact. China's just like everywhere else. There's very good quality stuff that comes out of there, and there's junk. The whole spectrum. It all depends on how much money the person making it wants to put into it and their quality control. And whatever the situation in China with Barton is, it is very well maintained. I have nothing but good things to say about the quality of this kit. It's got those sweet rounded over bearing edges for that 60s, 70s sound, which is a little thuddy, but they still got plenty of tone with a quick decay. It's really easy to record a set like this because the toms don't, ring forever. They still do ring, enough that when you're playing it live, if you don't have any dampening, it's going to project. It's a great sound, but with a little bit of dampening under close microphones, you're also going to get good performance there. So the microphones I am using today are very typical of what you hear live. Not so much on recordings. I know there's better mics to record with. But these are what I have, and these are what people are used to hearing. So in the bass drum, inside of it, I have a Shure Beta 52. It's about halfway in, pointed right where the beater hits. On the front, I have a cheap condenser mic. It is an MXL V67. I put that on the front of the bass drum, and it gets a lot of the boom sound. On the toms, close miking them, I have Shure SM57s, and the same thing on the snare drum. Overhead, I have actually my only really nice microphone. It is the Earthworks SR25. It's a really nice transparent sound. When I listen to recordings, it sounds pretty much like it does in the room. So the snare drum and toms, obviously a lot of that comes through on the overheads. The overheads aren't just for cymbals. I can apply a gate later on to the tom mic so it gets just the attack. There's a really quick decay, so I'll try to do that in there, and I'll flash up on the screen when I'm doing that. I'll turn them off and let you hear how it sounds just from the overheads. But this is a pretty typical setup that you can do with not really expensive microphones. I have the drums set up right now at what I feel like is the best tuning for my situation. Everyone has a different opinion on what sounds good. But for me, I like them tuned medium, if a little higher than medium, and a little bit of muffling. On the floor tom, I have one drum dot. On the rack tom, I have half of one drum dot. The floor tom's at 74 on the drum dial, top and bottom, and the rack tom's at 76, top and bottom. But I'll try to go a little bit lower and a little bit higher. I'll do it muffled, unmuffled. Again, on the screen will be a full listing of everything I'm doing. What I'm going to do is I'll EQ the bass drum, and on the snare drum, I'm going to put a little bit of reverb, but I'll leave the toms and the overhead mics, as is. I'm not going to mess with those. But just that little bit of processing, makes all of this more pleasant to listen to. Cymbals, as always, are Saluda in the Glory line. If you want any info on that Saluda stuff, send me an email or put a comment below and I'll hook you up. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and play these drums at some different settings and tunings. I'll flash up on the screen what's going on. So enjoy. That was it, the Barton Vintage Kapur kit. I don't believe they're making new Kapur kits right now. They are making birch and maple, and you can find those new all over the place. Based on what I've seen on this kit, the craftsmanship, the hardware quality, the shells, I would not hesitate to buy anything from Barton. The China, made in China tag, is not a badge of shame in any way. These things are really well made and they sound great. They've got this awesome tigerwood wrap, but Barton's got a ton of different wraps. They've got some lacquers, some opaque finishes, a bunch. Check out their website. Check out their where they're for sale on some different websites all over the country. It's really good stuff. I would not hesitate to buy these again, or the birch or the maple or anything from Barton. They've got some really cool bags. I don't want this to sound like a commercial, but I am just really impressed, with the Barton stuff. So once again, I'm Shane. Thanks for hanging out, listening to this really cool kit. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out my tutorials, my lessons, and all my cover videos, and take care.